Dear Richard Goyder, Graham Corns, Ross Glendinning, Debbie Lee, Karen Lyon, Paul Marsh, Alistair Nicholson, Michael O'Loughlin, David Parkin, and my Lord and Saviour, Andrew McLeod. I write this missive for the entertainment of many, but I'm speaking directly to you, 10 fine pillars of the football community. I know it's a long shot that any one of you will see this video, let alone all 10, but as members of the most recent Hall of Fame selection committee, I have something, or rather, someone for you to consider. I've never had many goals for this channel aside from telling fun footy stories, documenting history, and making people laugh on very rare occasions, but one of those few goals that I do have is giving the rightful recognition to a fantastic footballer that time and circumstance has forgotten. Allow me to read you a passage from John Pascoe, a 76-year-old Saints fan, written in 2003. I have no doubt that over that period of time we have had great individual players at St Kilda that were the equal of the best players in the VFL or AFL. We have every right to be proud of them. But three players stand out in my memory not only for their individual skills, but also their team skills. Robert Harvey, Darryl Baldock, and Harold Bray. Harvey and Baldock are well remembered in everyone's mind for their sheer brilliance, but not so Harold Bray, the unluckiest footballer around not to win a Brownlow medal. He was so close, so many times. He was everything we are proud of in a St Kilda player. He was silky smooth, fast, very skillful, went where angels feared to tread on the ground, had an incredible ability at all times to make the right decision in getting and disposing of the ball, and instinctively knew the best way to use his body at all times. All this in a flash. The eye of a needle was never any trouble for Harold Bray to negotiate. Above all, he was always a humble man, even if a bit tense at times. I hope he is always remembered in the Hall of Fame as a great footballer, man, St Kilda and Victoria representative. The sooner the better before time and memories get completely beyond us. Pascoe passed away in 2011, 1 year shy of seeing Harvey inducted into your Hall of Fame. He lived to see Darryl Baldock become both an inaugural inductee and later a legend. However, 14 years after Pascoe's passing, the final member of that trio still sits unappreciated outside the gates of the hallowed hall. Pascoe didn't put him in the same sentence as St Kilda's two greatest players lightly. I believe a strong case can be made to achieve one of my personal goals and elevate Harold Bray into the Hall of Fame. I will now mount it by playing some footage from my St Kilda documentary. Please enjoy.
At the start of their existence, the Saints had been whipping boys. Now, they were background characters not worthy of a passing thought. They tried changing their name to the Penguins to at least be a bit different. It didn't work. They faded into the periphery of the football world. They were the VFL's invisible men. No one seemed to personify this more than Harold Bray. Described by none other than Jack Dyer as one of the better midfielders in the game, his unmatched speed and acceleration combined with pinpoint passing to lift St Kilda after Bill Moore was gone. He was a great player, but not everyone realised it. Hayden Bunton, Dick Reynolds and Bob Skilton are renowned as all-time legends, due in large part to the 3 Brownlow medals they each have. Harold Bray, across 1947, 1949 and his last season in 1952, came a combined 7 votes from joining their ranks. The 4 winners across those years came from teams averaging nearly 8 wins in those seasons. Across those 3 seasons combined, St Kilda won 7 games. Harold Bray came 2 votes from winning the Brownlow medal in a team that had 1 win. When Gary Ablett Jr. won his Brownlow at the Gold Coast, one of the worst ever teams to have birthed the winner, that team had 8 wins. That's how good Harold Bray was. Bray also missed games in every season, some through injury, some through playing for Victoria interstate. He was too good for his own good. If he'd played even 18 of the 19 games in these seasons and keeps his form, he gets 2 Brownlow medals. If he plays 19 in 1949, he comes damn close to that 3rd. Of anyone from 1946 to 1952, he not only had the most votes, he had the most per game. By a long way. And yet, because he was in a crap team for literally all of his career, no one apart from those who had to play on him knew just how good he was. Instead of being a rightful 3-time Brownlow winner and AFL legend, he's now one of only 2 men to have 3 Brownlow podiums without taking Charlie home. Of the 8 men to register multiple top 5 finishes in this span, 2 aren't in the AFL Hall of Fame. Bert Deacon, the 1947 Brownlow winner, and the rightful 1947 winner, a man who, but for missing 3 games in 1948, would have had more top 5s than all of them, playing for a team with 37% of the wins of the average Brownlow winners at the time. Now, you might be saying, hang on GAZ-man, these guys might not have been at their peak, how do they compare across their careers? And it's a good point, so bear with me a moment. Here's a chart showing every player to have polled more than 0.6 votes per game across their careers. On the vertical axis is how many Brownlow medals they won. Also, I've colorized them for Hall of Fame status, as you can see at the top here. At the top we have a Hayden Bunton, who was just cracked. Then we have Moss and Hutchinson, both initial Hall of Fame inductees. A smattering of fellow Hall of Famers are joined by the modern Brownlow medalists, and everyone above 0.8 votes per game has a medal. Most also have a plaque in the Hall of Fame already in there, all ready to go once they're eligible. In fact, even if you extend the remit to 0.6 votes per game, there's only a few blokes who haven't got a medal or a Hall of Fame plaque already. Tim Kelly and Zach Merritt are blue chip players, but won't make it to the Hall, I don't think. Pendles and Selwood will, and I'm kinda shocked Cordner's not there already. Walsh shapes as a future Brownlow winner, the Bont will probably get one before him, and Oliver is putting in Hall of Fame numbers already. That leaves us with 3 guys sitting up on the shelf who don't have a plaque, who don't have a medal. Peter Pianto, a fantastic rover for Geelong at 0.72 votes per game. Keith Shea, a marvellous midfielder whose career was cut short by World War II and permit disputes at 0.76. And our man Harold. Yes, they didn't give any votes during World War II, but that being said, Bray won St Kilda's best and fairest in 1945, which would have polled in votes. Even if you include those games during the war and assume he didn't get any votes, he'd be on par with Joel Selwood and Gary Dempsey at the edge of the top 30. If you don't, and go by the games we're given, he jumps to 4th all time in votes per game, with 15% more votes per game than Shea. But he's not in the Hall of Fame, and he doesn't look close to getting in. But that's what you get for being loyal to this. He gave up the captaincy of the Saints to make sure he could perform at the level his team needed him to during the dark years, and he retired before his time so he didn't become a list clogger. There was no one like him, and even when there wasn't. To thank him, the Saints fans held a testimonial for their favourite son, raising the equivalent of 34 grand in today's money. Touched by all this, Bray proclaimed that he was a Saint for life. He would join their committee and he would become one of the many to get pushed out over those years. He deserves the recognition that all of these men have had. Sadly, I don't think he'll ever get it.
I must turn to the Hall of Fame jury now and emphasise, this man, this brilliant man, is the only man to place second 3 times in the Brownlow and not be its inaugural winner. If not for interstate duty and some minor injuries, he would be at least a 2-time Brownlow winner. To put it into perspective how differently this small change would affect his legacy, that other 3-time runner-up who won 1 medal 100 years ago has a best and fairest named after him. You know who he is, because he's in the Hall of Fame too. He did that for a Geelong side that dipped below a 50% win rate only once in those 3 years. Bray's fetid side he stuck in through no fault of his own accomplished that once in his 12-year career. I have no skin in this game. I'm not a Saints fan. I'm completely unrelated to everyone involved. I'm just a footy nerd who's found a discrepancy. I feel an injustice in the football books, a wrong that needs to be righted. So when you suggest names to be put into the annals of glory this year, do the right thing. Put Harold Bray there too. Thank you. Also, make Jack Worrell a legend, for fuck's sake.